to get into some other aspects of it that, you know, definitely stand out. Cole and I talked about this afterwards. He wasn't a fan of this. I didn't mind it so much, but they sort of rebuild the character of Freddy in a way. One thing I could definitely say is good is that they don't really dwell on the past stuff. A lot of these remakes that come out now, they really dwell on that. That was one of the good things. One of the good things about the Friday the 13th remake is they sort of dealt with the storyline behind it really quickly and got away with it. In this movie, they sort of intertwined some of the storyline, how Freddy became what he is, in with it. But, you know, no longer do we have the Freddy that was once the Springwood slasher, a child killer. With, you know, in the original film, you know, they sort of like had this theme where, you know, Freddy was a child killer, killed these kids, was the Springwood slasher, and may have gotten some kind of sexual thrill out of it, kind of thing. In this film, he's a sexual deviant. He's a child molester. That's what he did. He didn't kill any kids. The parents found... Basically, the idea is that all these kids went to this school together. They were in a preschool kind of thing. Freddy, molested them and took pictures and things like that. And when the parents find out, they kill him. And I didn't mind it that much, but I can see too where it was a stronger idea where he was a child killer. The Springwood slasher was this really cool background, and they sort of done away with that. He was almost sort of pathetic when he was a human, and I didn't really care for that too much. And they also try to tie in this whole, you know, maybe he didn't do it thing, which I thought was really poorly written and really poorly established in that. The idea, these kids, they don't remember anything of what happened to them, you know, when they were in the school. They don't remember any of it. So as they're sort of having these dreams and realizing there's a connection between them and researching the connection, they start to find out more and more about this old school and stuff. But, you know, they don't remember anything. And all of a sudden, there's this one, you know, this main character, Quentin, and he so strongly believes that, you know, we were kids and we were probably lying and you guys killed the wrong man. And it just doesn't make any sense because there's no reason for him to think that, you know. These parents, you know, clearly went to extremes and did something that they probably shouldn't have done, but, you know, there's got to be some evidence to the fact that this happened to them, and he just all of a sudden, I didn't like how they played it at all. I thought it was really poorly written into the script. But I didn't mind the idea, I guess, all that much. It's just, you know, I think that the Springwood slasher was a stronger idea, and, you know, it's weird that they sort of took that out. But I guess they were trying to be edgy, which I do like. You know, they didn't try to pussyfoot around that. You know, they tried to come out right out and say that he was this horrible child molester, and I think that was pretty good too. Another thing I definitely wanted to talk about was the homage scenes. In the original, I only saw one trailer. I avoided everything about this film. I didn't watch a lot of stuff about it because I didn't want to know a whole lot going in. But I did notice that there was a lot of scenes that looked like they were lifted directly from the original, and I was really worried that they were going to try and pull a Gus Van Sant Psycho and rebuild the movie exactly the same. Really what they did was they had these iconic scenes from the original movie in it. And I think it was kind of, you know, they were quick. They were sort of an homage. They were like, as if to say, you know, this isn't the original film. You know, there is another film that we're basing this off of, and go check that out. And I think it's sort of cool. It's like these kids that might see this one and this is their first time seeing Freddy. Oh, you know, there's all these other movies out there, and they go check them out and they see the connection when they see the original. And I think that's it was sort of done like that. It wasn't like they, you know, flagrantly used all these scenes. I feel like it was really quick. They usually weren't that long, and they were in there. Some of them weren't done nearly as well, though. And it's another thing I have to say about the the special effects in the film. I was saying the CG was bad, but the good thing is that they did use a lot of practical effects in this film. The thing about it is, I think sometimes they didn't go far enough with them. It was nice to see the practical effects, but the scene where the Chris character dies, you know, homages that scene where we had, I think her name was Tina, she gets killed by Freddy in her sleep, and she gets dragged around the room and thrown around on the ceiling, and that was so much better done in the original. In this one, she's thrown around like a rag doll. There's really no blood until the very end of it, and I almost laughed at it actually for a second. Another scene too where this guy sort of kills himself with a knife across his throat. You know, he cuts himself straight across and there's blood, but, you know, even in the earliest of Tom Savini stuff, he would have sort of, you know, something there that's split, and, you know, you'd see something inside, you know. He just does this, and then, you know, it ends. It's just, it wasn't as effective because they didn't take that next step. I'm not saying I wanted a gore fest here, but the blood that was in it, the kills just didn't seem to take it far enough. But I did like that there was practical effects, and it was nice to see that in the movie, so that was definitely a plus, but at the same time, I think it could have been better. I guess, you know, final thoughts on the movie, you know, I said it at the very start. I had a good time watching the movie, you know, I enjoyed watching it. I think another thing is they had a few too many jump scares, you know, I don't know how that's going to affect me, you know, watching it again, but the thing about it is I do want to see it again. I think that I'll really form an opinion about it the second time through, but it is something that I want to watch again. You know, do I think it you know, if it's anywhere near as good as the original? No, I don't think so. But I think in the pantheon of remakes that it is it's going to be really, I think it's a really good one. And I think that, you know, from what I'm seeing, you know, people feel the same. It's an alright movie, and it's a pretty good remake because, you know, as far as remakes go, you know, what can you expect, sort of thing. But I think it sort of seems to be, everyone's sort of saying the same thing. It was alright. I enjoyed watching the movie. I thought it was pretty good. You know, I'll probably add it to the collection when it comes out. Yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, one thing that I kind of thought about, and, you know, I mentioned it to Cole, and he didn't really think that this was going to be an issue, but, you know, with these movies, for 7 films, Robert Englund played the character of Freddy, and again, it's one of those characters that really, whoever is the actor becomes the character because there's a lot of their look in the makeup. You know, it's not just some faceless, mindless zombie that doesn't speak. You know, you can have anybody behind the mask of Michael Myers. You can have anybody behind the mask of Jason Voorhees. But when you pick somebody to be Freddy, they sort of become the character. And I kind of worry that if they decide to do more of these, you know, is Jackie Earle Haley going to stick around for a whole lot of them? But at the same time, you know, with these remakes, they aren't doing a lot of sequels. I mean, you're looking at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're looking at remaking it again. You know, they only had 2 of those films. So I guess there wouldn't be a whole lot of these, but if they decide to do another one, you know, I think he's sort of indicated he'd do another, but will he do a third? Would he do a fourth if they kept going? You know, you don't know about that. So I think it's going to be, that might be an issue down the line, you know. Is there going to be somebody else, you know, in the makeup at some point? You know, as far as this film goes, you know, I had a good time watching it. I think it's something you should check out. And sort of make your own opinion about it. See what you think about it. See where it stands for you. You know, it's definitely better than some of the sequels that came out with The Nightmare on Elm Street down the line, but at the same time, it doesn't touch the original. And you know, if you go out and see that and you haven't seen this, then go see this. You will like this more, I would say. And if this isn't your cup of tea and you like the other one more, that's fine, but you'll be able to see where it came from, I guess. And, you know, I liked it. So that's all I have to say about it, I guess. I've talked about this enough. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I hope you enjoyed my little talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. Let me know what you think about the movie if you check it out. So, yeah, I'll talk to you guys later, and peace.